Welcome to another episode of Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, ready to bring you into the world of all things mystic. Join me for a journey of spiritual growth, enlightenment, and self-actualization as we explore the wonderful world of mysticism where no gifted soul gets left behind. If you'd like to call in live to the show, dial 678-495-4345. And now, get ready for Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay. Hello and welcome to Mystic Mondays. Hey everyone, happy Monday. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels. I am a spiritual teacher, psychic medium, and an energy healer. And I named the show Mystic Mondays because I have a passion for mysticism, all things growing and elevating your spirit and your soul, self-actualization, and spiritual evolution. So I'm very, very happy to be doing the show today. Before we get into today's topic, I just want to say hello to our friends at WDJY 99.1 FM and also WTTA 101.2 FM in Kentucky and Ohio. Also, you can now watch and listen to all exclusive content, exclusive and uncensored content 24/7 at uimediaapp.com. So today we have a very special guest and we have a wonderful topic. Today's topic is psychic divination. So we're going to really get deep into that today. And today's guest is Lisa Thiex. She is a psychic medium and a pranic healer. So we will meet her after this segment. Now, first we're going to get into the Mystic Challenge. Mystic Challenge. Okay. So with the Mystic Challenge, as a refresher, the Mystic Challenge is when you can call in and you get to answer one of three questions, and you get to choose one, two, or three, and that'll dictate the question that you're asked. So if you get the question correct, then you will receive today's gift is a free third eye activation and attunement. Yes, by me. So if you get this question correct, you will get a free third eye activation attunement. And what that will do is it will strengthen your intuition. It's a 15-minute session with me over the phone, and it will strengthen your intuition and elevate your vibration. Yes. So we all need that. And also, if you don't get the question correct, you will you still get to walk away with a free Mystic Monday t-shirt for your efforts. And also, we're going to keep doing this challenge all throughout the show until someone gets the question correct. So you can call in to play the challenge. You can call in at 678-495-4345 to play the challenge at any time during the show. Okay, so now let's get into Mystic Message. Mystic Message. I always love that. Gives me the giggles. Anyway, today's Mystic Message. So every day before the show, I go into a deep meditation and I see, what Spirit has to say today to give a message to all of you. So today's message is about building your high vibration tribe. So it's important that as human beings, we are community creatures, and it's important that we make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with the right vibration. So today's message is about building that high vibration tribe. People that you spend time with are important. Their vibration, their energy seeps into your energy. As I've said many times on the show before, we all have auras that span 10 feet around us. If you're less than 10 feet from someone, you guys are sharing energy. And this is so important because if you're around someone who has a lot of depression, if you're around someone who just is overly negative, or there's a lot of other, myriad of things that their energy could be off, and they're just not high vibrational people. Now, everyone has the ability to be high vibrational, but some people, depending on the stage of their life and their journey, they may not be high vibrational at the time. So that's what I mean by high vibrational people. You want to make sure that you surround yourself, especially as a mystic. You're watching Mystic Mondays. As a mystic, you want to make sure you have high vibration people around you so that you can elevate. And, who you surround yourself with. Your energy will mimic the energy that you keep around you in a general sense. And so that's why, building your high vibration tribe is so, so important. So, people, when you're also around people, there's subconscious influences. The things that people say, their expectations of themselves even can seep into you, and you can start acting and mimicking, other people. And that's actually something that human beings naturally do, is we mimic. And that's actually part of our survival skills when we're in groups. And so this is why it's really, really important that you keep high vibrational people around you. So what you should do is you should take inventory. Take inventory of the people that are around you. Who's in your inner circle? Who are you around every day? Sometimes you can't help it. You may work with some people that are very low vibration, and you still have to be around them. And then that's when you can take precautions. But for those people that are in your circle that are low vibration, if they're not helping you, they're hurting you. This is a rule of thumb that I always say to people, because it's true. If someone is not helping you, you can't find a single thing that you're benefiting out of being around this person, whether that's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, whatever that is. If there's not a single thing that you can think of that this person is benefiting you with, if they're not pouring into you in some way, then they're hurting you, guaranteed. So that's just a good test. Are they helping me or are they hurting me? And if they are hurting you, then they got to go. So it's time to really get rid of them. And again, people that you can do that with, such as, obviously you can't control who you work with if you're working in, say, corporate America or some kind of, uncontrolled work environment. And if that's the case, then you just keep a distance. But for people that you can control that are in your circle, you want to make sure that you weed out those that are low vibration, and you keep and bring in more high vibrational people. And this is how you can really start building that high vibration tribe that is really, really going to help uplift you and help bring you to higher states of consciousness, help bring you to higher states of connection and just a higher vibration. And when you're in a high vibration, everything just, starts to get better. Everything starts to open up, because unbeknownst to you, other people could be blocking your prosperity because of their energy. So, other people's energy affect everything when you're around them. And because again, we're sharing information, we're sharing energy all the time. So it's just so important that you make sure that you are building that high vibration tribe. I keep saying vibe. Anyway, so also when you're trying to find new people, when I said, you want to keep the good vibrations around you, but also bring in some new high vibration people and make sure that your tribe is continuously growing and building and staying in that high vibration. So sometimes people are like, well, how do I find, new people? Everyone I'm around is negative. That means you're going in the wrong places. You need to find the right people in the right places. So whatever you're used to doing, if a lot of negative people are there, do something else. Find new places to go, find new activities to get into that allow you to meet the type of people that you need to meet that'll have those good vibrations for you. So that's just something to think about, and make sure that you are continuously building that high vibration tribe. So that is the mystic message for today. Now, what I want to talk about, we're going to get into the show a little bit. So today's show is about psychic divination. So divination is kind of a word that some people know what it means, some people don't know what it means. So let's talk about it. So what is divination? Divination is seeking information about the unknown, the seemingly unknown. Seeking information about the seemingly unknown using your spiritual power. Now, we all have spiritual power. We all have the ability to seek that knowledge and receive that knowledge, no matter who it is. Some people call themselves psychics, like I call myself a psychic. Some people call themselves intuitive. Some people don't call themselves anything, but everyone is psychic. Everyone has some psychic ability at a very base level. Now, some people like me, I was born with that base level, like way, way up here, but everyone has the ability to raise it up here. So, that's basically what divination is: being able to receive that information, seeking that information, and then being able to receive that information. So people use tools for divination, and some of those tools are, tarot cards, throwing stones, throwing shells, or reading tea leaves. There's also crystal balls and astrology. Those are considered divination tools. So the ability to divine information, the reason why it's called divination is you're divining information. You're receiving information. You're seeking information from the divine. Why? because the divine has all the answers. And guess what? The divine is within you. You have all the answers. And the answers are here and they're also here. So you have the ability to receive and interpret and manipulate and understand and then share that information. And so this information that you receive is very important. It could be about your day-to-day life. You could, any questions that you have about life itself, the universe itself, questions that you have about situations in your life, directions that you should go in. That's what divination is all about, is receiving that information and then being able to hopefully do something with the information that you receive. So again, we all have the ability to use divination, to use our divination skills, our psychic ability. So connecting with your guiding forces is another way of receiving that information. You can connect with your guiding forces. Your guiding force could be what you call God, any other words that you use for that term. Also, your spirit guides or guardian angels you can connect with. In addition, you can connect with the universe itself, okay? Because again, information is omnipresent. Everything that was, is, and ever will be is readily available to you to receive and to gain knowledge of. And then that information can be used in so many different ways to help improve your life and to also prevent suffering as well. And so it's important to understand, though, when you're using tools, that the magic is not in the tool itself. The magic is really in you. So when you think of people using tarot cards, okay, a lot of people, that's the most common divination tool that's out there today is tarot cards. People use tarot cards all the time, or oracle cards. And when you're looking at those cards, some people assume they really believe that the cards are this deck is powerful, that deck is powerful. It's not the deck that's powerful. It's not the cards that contain the power. They can contain some power, depending on how you're using them. However, the power of the knowledge that is received through the cards is through you. So when you are reading tarot cards, what you're doing is you're looking at the information that is presented there on the card, and your third eye is then interpreting that information and receiving that along with information from the universe and the higher self. Because remember, your higher self and your soul, it already knows all the answers. And so the tool is simply to help you receive that answer in a better way. Because sometimes as human beings, especially starting out, things that are more tangible are more easy for us to grasp and believe in. And it's very visual. So when we see a card that clearly, there's imagery on the card that really resonates with us and speaks to us, and then we may receive in our ear or in our mind, what that actually means. And that is really how we read, the tarot cards. And that is really how you read anything. So any of the tools that we are going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some very interesting tools. So any of the tools that we talk about today, it's really all about showing you that the tool is just that, it's a tool. But the power and the knowledge is coming from here, coming from you, coming from the universe, and being received by you. And so you already have the answers, and these are just tools to help you find those answers, to help you bring them into the physical plane, because we already know on an ethereal level all the answers. But now it's time to bring that into the physical plane so that we can then fully understand that as a human being in this human experience that is, kind of confined by these physical rules of spatial. And so this is what I'm saying. So this is why it's really important to be able to use these tools and be able to use yourself. So again, most important thing to remember is the power is within you. We're going to get into that after the break. But first, if you're interested in magnifying your intuition and psychic ability, you can go to monicabay.com and book a free consultation there, and we can talk about it. I have a lot of programs for that. So also up next, we're going to meet today's guest, Lisa Thieks, and we're going to talk about some interesting ways of doing psychic divination. So don't forget to call and play the Mystic Challenge for a chance to win a free activation attunement, third eye activation attunement. So again, you can call 678-495-4345. And right after this, we are going to be back. So you are watching Mystic Monday with Monica Bay.
This is Kurt Arsenault of Arsenault Advisory Group. You just got married, but you may not realize that your money did as well. Is your spouse a spender or a saver? Will you purchase or rent a home? Finances aren't always fun to talk about, but getting on the same page with your partner and having real conversations about your goals will pave the way for a secure future. If you have recently tied the knot, visit arsenaultadvisory.com to download our free ebook titled 7 Smart Money Marriage Tips. Visit arsenaultadvisory.com to get your free ebook today.
Hello and welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, and we are about to get into psychic divination some more. Okay, but before we do that, I just have an announcement to make. So are you interested in buying or selling a home in the Atlanta area? You are looking at the experienced top producing agent. If you're looking for an experienced top producing agent who consistently sells and closes homes year after year, if so, give Shira Cohen a call at 678-523-0757 or visit her website at shiracohen.atlantafinehomes.com to learn more. Her proven marketing methods, extensive resources, and partnership with Atlanta Fine Homes International Realty can make all the difference in buying and selling a new home. Okay, so now we have our guest, Lisa Theix. She is a psychic medium and pranic healer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. And I'm very, very excited. So tell everyone, kind of introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Okay. As Monica indicated, I am a psychic medium. I'm also a pranic healer and a purpose and relationship coach.
Okay.
As well. And I clear homes as well for sale and also for people that have issues in their home or if they just want their home cleared of energy.
Okay. So the announcement I just read, if anyone does take that up on and they need their home cleansed, there you go. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about psychic divination. And this is something that obviously you are very privy to and you have a lot of information on. So we're going to talk really about that today. What is your definition of divination? I gave mine earlier. How would you define divination? Because I know that's sometimes hard to define to people.
Yes, it is. Very similar to a lot of what you said, but I really look at divination as the physical proof of what the higher self already knows. And you said that as humans, we need that. That's important for us to be able to see. Yes. And I think that the tools provide that for us.
Yes.
Yeah. But you don't necessarily need a tool to divine. And you said that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important because a lot of people don't realize that. And when people first start to get into psychic or like trying to, exercise their psychic ability, usually they first get tarot cards.
Yes.
And then they may move on to other things or just stay with tarot. But they a lot of times don't realize that you can actually step away from that, especially as you get more advanced, because the more you do it, the stronger you get at it.
Yes,
basically, and the more, because it's a muscle that you're exercising, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So what is your favorite divination tool?
My favorite is the dowsing rods.
Okay.
And I like the dowsing rods. First of all, they're just fun.
Yeah, they are.
But they're very definitive for me. I have a very good connection. And I would say after that, probably the pendulum.
Okay.
And I do use the pendulum when I am doing my pranic healing as well, because it sort of helps me cut to the chase.
Okay.
I'm I'm asking direct questions and I'm getting a direct answer. So it's very time efficient.
Okay. See, for me, pendulums, so I use pendulums when I'm scanning someone, which I think is what you're saying, for, in a healing aspect. But for divination, in terms of like getting answers, in a non-healing situation.
Yes.
It doesn't work for me. And the only reason why is because I know that I can move it. And so then I question, like, am I moving it or is this?
Yes. Yes.
That's what, because a long time ago, I was starting to use it, but then I'm like, I know, because I also practice telekinesis too.
Yes.
So I know, and a pendulum is really easy to move. So I know that I can move it. So I'm like, okay, I can't use that because I question too much.
Yes.
But if you can get past that, for some people, it really, really works really well.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I agree. And I have kind of a technique that helps with that because I think it's called the ideal motor effect when subconsciously we're moving it.
Yeah.
But if you rest your elbow kind of like on a table, like so, and you have the pendulum, that helps eliminate that somewhat, as opposed to just like freely holding it, which is what most people do. And then, as you said, you kind of say, I'm moving it, or, something like that. But it does seem to help. Or if a person's really shaky, it seems to eliminate that to a certain degree. But I think you have to kind of play around with your technique with it. And then for some people, the pendulum's just not their tool.
Yeah, that's for me. Because I've tried that before, but I can move it easily. So I'm just like, okay, that's not going to work. I'm like, I want it to say no, so now it says no. But I know a lot of people that use it, and it's really, really gets them very, very accurate information. And to your point, what you just said, it's important that everyone understand too that, every tool is not for everyone.
Right.
Right. So sometimes people will, it's whatever you resonate with and whatever you find works best for you.
Yes.
And you kind of have to play around. And like I was saying earlier, some people just go right to tarot and then they may not try anything else. And I think it's important to, try other things and see what works for you. Because you may find like dowsing rods. Wow, that works. So can you explain dowsing rods a little bit, and so everyone can understand what that is and how it works?
Well, I happen to have a set.
There we go.
About that?
There we go.
So the origin of dowsing rods was individuals would use them, and usually they would have a forked branch made out of a particular wood. It was usually willow or oak or poplar. Were the most popular types of woods. And it would be a forked branch, and they would use it to divine for water. They were looking for where to build a well. So that's kind of the background of the origin of it. And then later, they actually came up with rods. And so these rods have a copper handle, and copper is great for conducting energy, just naturally. So basically, they have kind of a little sliding handle. And then it's just the bent copper, right? So you're holding them and you're asking questions. So because we're here on camera, I'm going to ask the questions out loud. So I'm asking it to please give me a yes. So yes, as you can see them moving, all right, hitting the microphone.
Yep.
They're really performing today. Thank you. And then I'm going to ask them to please show me no. So usually for me, a no is crossed. And there we go. That's the no.
Nice.
So you can also use them to find lost things.
Yes.
They're great for that. You can also use them for directional things. So just to kind of show you a little demo here, I'm going to ask the dowsing rod to please point to Monica. And there we go. There's Monica. So they can be used in a variety of ways. And I just really love that they're very definitive. They're very easy to use. Children using these is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have a 15-year-old, and like they practically just go backwards on the yes. Which is really amazing because children have a different energy. Yeah. Young people have a different energy than adults do. And usually with adults, they only go as far as our mind lets us.
This is true.
So you really have to push past that. So a lot of times when I'm teaching classes, people say, well, they're not working for me. And I say, take your mind out of it. Think less and know more.
Yes. I'm glad you said that because I always say that logic clouds your true judgment. And it sounds weird to say that, right?
Yes.
Because you think logic is everything, but it's really not. Our logic as human beings, our conscious mind, oftentimes clouds are a truth of something,
yes.
And being able to receive something. Because how many times have you had an intuitive thought that you reasoned away?
Yes.
Like, oh no, that can't be the case because X, Y, Z, and you're using your reason and your logic, but then you find out later that your intuitive thought was true.
Yes.
But you just reasoned it away.
Yes.
And
exactly.
so, and obviously logic is important. We have to make, logical decisions and everything, but it's important to allow your spirit and your soul to guide over the logic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you always have to ask, how does this feel to me?
Yes.
And I think that that's something that's very much discounted in our society because people don't really want to talk about feelings. And nobody really asks you how you feel. They always say, what do you think?
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And so
That's
just
true.
even
That's a
in
good
general,
point. I like that.
Yeah, in general conversation, you think about it. People always say, "What do you think about it?" But very rare do people say, "Well, how do you feel about it?"
Yeah.
And it's that alignment of how you feel and what you think. So it's a mind, body, soul.
Yes.
Does this feel right to me?
Yes, yes. And that's something that is very important, especially when we're talking about divination,
Yes.
because when you receive information, and oftentimes, obviously, if you're doing divination for yourself, especially because sometimes it's very hard to divine for yourself sometimes, especially when your emotions are, if you really, really need this to be the answer to be no or something, and then it'll cloud what you're trying to see. But it's important that you follow that inner guidance of what that real answer is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
I agree.
So do you, and I know you teach some stuff regarding divination too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a psychic immersion weekend. It's like a crash course. It's a weekend, a Friday night, a Saturday all day, and a Sunday. And we explore divination techniques within the class because, as you said, the goal is to get individuals to trust themselves.
Yes, that's the key.
So we have a variety of tools. We use the dowsing rods. We use the pendulum. We have crystal balls. We use oracle cards. So it's kind of just this wide variety of things that I provide to them in a safe environment so they can explore. And we call it playing, but in honesty, it's really not play in terms of it's not frivolous.
Yes.
It's very intentional. It's very intentional, and it is definitely a learning experience for them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, that's important for people to be able to have that. Cause I know when I was learning my abilities in my teens, when I first started to understand them, I didn't have anyone that was just like, let me show you the way.
Right.
I didn't have that. So it was like, okay, I got to figure this out by myself and read a bunch of books and meditate and receive information and figure it out. And that's really what I did. And so that's what both of us, we'd like to be able to give that back to the younger generations or just even older generations that are just now starting to kind of come into their own power and realizing, okay, I have these abilities. What do I do with them?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about the dowsing rods as far as how they work from an energy standpoint and how it's pointing and what causes that to happen.
As I said, I think any tool is about what the higher self knows.
Yeah.
So, of course, when I did the example of please point to Monica, I know who you are. I know you're sitting to my left. So that is my higher self acknowledging that, and then the proof just being in the rod.
Yeah.
So I think that that's definitely part of it. And then, as you said, we are also drawing on higher self, higher power, the universe, the ethers, whatever you choose to call it.
Yeah.
You are channeling in that information as well. And, you said, the ethers know everything.
Yes.
It's all there. It exists. So if we are a spark of that, we are a spark of the divine, then we too are all knowing. But it's about tapping into that and really honing into that and honing our skills as well, because the practice is so important. You have to learn how to trust yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to any kind of divination is trusting yourself. Because again, we can explain away with our logic, anything that we receive, why that can't be the case or why, no, I think this is what that meant. Because, as we start to dive into it deeper and then we're completely off base. And that's because we're not trusting ourselves.
Yes.
And usually I find that your first intuition is always the right one.
Yes.
It's when you start to overthink it that you start to get the answer wrong.
Right. I always think about how older people have this saying, you think long, you think wrong. Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't.
Yes,
I haven't.
That's something that I kind of grew up hearing in my family. Older people would say that. You think long, you think wrong.
That's interesting.
And I do think that that's true because, as you said, it's usually your first thought, your first feeling is usually the correct one for you.
Yeah.
It's when you start to think more and overthink it is when things get really cloudy.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yes.
But we're going to continue that conversation right after this. So first, I want you all to stay tuned at 6 p.m. today. 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Soulful Family, the Soulful Family Show, to see how hosts Cheryl Andrea and child family therapist Sarah Hart are teaming up to discuss modern international living. So We're also going to be continuing our discussion right after this. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Download the UI Media Smart app at uimediaapp.com to watch and listen to all your favorite shows anytime from anywhere in the world. Shows that enrich, entertain, educate, and feeds the conscious cells throughout your body. We bring you never heard before topics in health, inspiration, music, psychics, numerology, current affairs, controversies, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.uimediaapp.com and start raising your frequency now.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, and I am here with my very special guest, the lovely Lisa Theix.
Hello again.
And so today we are talking about psychic divination. So I want to get into some really, really interesting divination tools, because we know the cards and things like that, but let's talk about some kind of non-conventional divination tools. Yes. Now you have a thing that you do with dominoes.
Yes.
Right? So tell us all about that.
Okay. So basically anything can be used to divine information. So dominoes are a very, very old thing. They kind of, fell out of play, as we know, when board games and different things became more popular, even though people do still play dominoes. But dominoes were used to divine basically the tiles. They're called bones. And a group of them is called a boneyard. Because they used to be made from bones. Really? So that's the reason why that's one of the nicknames for them.
Okay.
But the dots on them are like the dots on dice, and they're called pips.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you were to draw 3 dominoes, past, present, future, that's usually the layout, right?
So it's like a spread, kind of like a tarot spread.
Exactly, like a tarot spread. So basically you would draw 3, you would put them together, and each number represents something. So just kind of very obvious, a double blank. So a double blank is usually going to be something that's a challenge, something that may be perceived as negative that requires work.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then if you were to draw a double 6, which is the highest, right? So that would be the 6s on both sides. That would be something wonderful coming into your life. Financial success, prosperity, the start of a great relationship. And each one of the numbers represents different things, each one of the pips. Generally, with a domino drawing, a lot of older people feel like you shouldn't do it any more often than like once a month.
Okay, why is that?
Which, and actually, you think about it, makes sense because you need for time to unfold.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And I mean, even in the, the readings that you and I do, I'm sure the same thing is that if you have a person that's coming to you too frequently, then it's like you're not giving the universe time to unfold what's before you. And that really is something that usually people that read dominoes sticks to. So it is a very common thing. Some people will pull more dominoes. There's a spread that involves 13 dominoes.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, is more complex. Yeah. And it's like complex, tarot spreads, too. People do the Celtic Cross or, the Solomon Seal. So it's all different types of things and ways that you can do it. But usually the 3 dominoes is the most common.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So with the dominoes, and so just to explain to you all at home, when the reason why you can use just about anything for divination is because, again, the power doesn't reside in the tool, it resides within you. So you can throw some paint on a wall.
Yes.
And use that. People have, I've seen people actually use, that's kind of what mandalas are.
Yes.
For divination, a little more organized than paint on a wall. But but you can throw some paint on a wall and start scrying on the paint shape and seeing, what's coming to you from that and actually use that as a divination tool. There's really anything that you can use as a divination tool, because what's happening is you're seeing the spread, you're seeing whatever that is that you threw out. And your mind, your subconscious mind and your spirit is, and your higher self is interpreting that information. And then that is coming into your third eye, giving you, okay, this is what it means.
Yes.
And so it may not make any sense to some people, but if it makes sense to you, then that's what it is.
Exactly.
And that's how it works.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So we also have a thing with playing cards, right?
Yes.
So why don't you explain a little bit about the playing cards?
Okay. So the tarot deck was basically the precursor to the regular deck that we know of as playing cards. So it's much like tarot in that it does require some study to learn what the suits mean and what the numbers represent. So for instance, hearts, and this one is a really easy one. Hearts represent romance.
Yeah.
Right? So then you have diamonds. Diamonds are usually about property, practical matters. Then you have spades. Spades are usually your challenging cards.
Okay.
A lot of times they represent things you need to work at, things you need to overcome, not things that are necessarily impossible or negative, but things that will take a little bit more effort on your part.
Yeah.
Then you have the clubs, of course. You have the king, you have the queen, the king and queen. They're pretty obvious. The king is masculine energy. The queen is the feminine energy.
Yeah.
The jack is usually the youth or folly. Those are usually kind of the silly things that we do, or maybe things that are not necessarily maybe more impetuous, I would say.
Self-sabotage.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking to at home.
And then, of course, the numbers represent different things. Pulling an ace, of course, ace is top card. So that's going to be the best card. So it just depends on the suit. But it's really, really interesting how they do have to be studied and learned, much like tarot, to know what they represent. So it's a very interesting way, though, to receive a reading or to give a reading. And I think it's a really, really great way in terms of kind of introduction. If a person is a card player, like I am not a card player.
I used to be.
Okay. So for me, just to even learn the suits, like that took a minute because I was like, okay, wait a minute. These clubs look like the spades. No, wait a minute. That's not a spade. That's a club. So to learn that was challenging for me, but it is something that like I've dabbled with, and I consider myself to be, just a student of the meta world. So if it's out there, I want to know about it. I want to learn more about it.
I love it. I love it every second.
I'm always trying to figure out, well, how do people do that? Or that's just really interesting to me. Recently, I was reading some information about water scrying.
Okay. Oh, I've done that.
So you've done that. And I just like, that's fascinating to me to be able to just look and see what are you seeing in the water.
Yes. And fire scrying. I used to do that a lot. Yes. Yeah. So, by the way, the term scrying, in case there's some people that don't know what that means, scrying is basically when you are staring at something and it usually you're able to see shapes in that thing. So if you ever were young and you would lay down on the ground outside and stare at the clouds and start seeing things in the clouds, start to see different shapes and stuff like that, that's basically cloud scrying. So you can do the same thing with water. You can do the same thing with fire. And just about anything.
Yes.
Like I said, throwing paint on a wall, that would be a form of scrying as well. So just to give a little tidbit message. Yes. Education.
I love that.
Yes. So how does your ability to, I think because you're a pranic healer and I'm also an energy healer, and what I find that is my ability to divine information helps significantly with my healing. Do you find the same?
I do find the same. Again, like the way that I use the pendulum, it basically cuts through the chase for me. I would receive a lot of information that maybe is being downloaded to me, but the pendulum is going to be used to give me a definitive yes or no. So while I'm, mentally sorting through the information, kind of saying, okay, this is what I'm picking up. I'm getting like maybe a knee injury or there's inflammation here. I can just say, is there inflammation at the knee? And the pendulum's going to swing yes or no. Okay. So it just kind of helps me, especially in time, because, as you well know, when you have clients in front of you, time is important. So you may only have an hour or an hour and a half or whatever it is. So it's really, really important to be efficient with that. And I found it helps me tremendously. And then also it helps me on days that maybe if I'm at my office and maybe I'm not as clear as maybe as I should be, because maybe I'm thinking about, my children, or that I need to go to Kroger, or whatever it is. It kind of centers me and reminds me to be focused on what I'm doing. And I have that tangible physical proof for that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, because when you're doing something with your physical hands, that tends to ground you in that physical moment.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I find that just being able to divine, and again, divination, using tools or not using tools. But sometimes using tools, you can get something a lot faster, depending on what it is that you're receiving, and depending on how open you are at the moment to receiving that information. But you can also use, not using tools, you can also just connect to the universe and receive. Now, you have to be very clear, though, in order to do that. So you have to, and that's why I consider that more advanced. And some people have that natural ability to just be able to connect very clearly. And some people may have that natural ability, but they're not receiving because they have blockages in their energy system. So it's important that, if you are trying to just connect without tools, that you use, do that connection, but make sure that you're clear. Because the information comes in through your crown chakra and gets interpreted by your third eye. If neither one of those is clear, and your other chakras need to be clear too, but if neither one of those is clear, then you're likely going to either not get the message at all or receive a message but misinterpret it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's important that you keep your chakras clear. And I'm always talking about cleansing chakras on the show because it's so important to everything in your life.
It is very much so.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes.
I think as energy healers, that probably would be our PSA, right?
Yes, it should be.
Keep your chakras clear.
That's right. Always keep your chakras clear and your energy clear. And like I said earlier, keep the negative people from around you.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on self-divination like we were talking earlier? How do you feel about that?
I feel like it's really, really important to hone the skill. However, as human beings, as you said, there are just times when maybe you're cloudy, you're fearful, you're uncertain. And then there are also times when I feel like just as humans, we need the validation.
Yeah.
So I think that when you feel that, then it's best to maybe exercise somebody else or bring them into the picture. But I also feel like it's a challenge to your skill set too.
That is true.
That you really hone it for yourself. Because like I know, I've known readers in the past that said, well, I cannot read for myself. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, that's odd to me because I feel like for the most part, you should be able to. I think there are occasions that you can't because, of, like I said, fear or just feeling uncertain. Yeah. But I think for the most part, you should really try to practice and hone your skill with that. And as you said, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Yeah. And it's that self-trust.
Yeah. And really also it's about being able to have control over your emotions.
Yes.
And that's part of self-actualization, being able to master yourself.
Yes.
And usually when you're not able to read for yourself, it's because of, like you said, fear and emotional things. And you really need this to say no. You don't want, you don't want the answer to be whatever. So you want to control the answer instead of allowing the answer to come. Yes. And so it's really about being able to master that within yourself and being open to whatever that truth is. And then because you're asking for a reason, you want to know the answer.
Right. Exactly.
So that you can then do something about it or not. So, so it's important that that you're able to do that. And so when you're talking about, self-divination, one other thing that a lot of people get into when they're trying to divine for themselves is doing it, like you were saying earlier, too often.
Yes.
And I know people that do a reading for themselves every single day.
Yes.
And I would not suggest that anyone do that because it will drive you crazy. Because what happens is someone will see something negative will come up in the reading throughout the day. And it may be something emotional, but they see it as like, oh my God, this is going to happen. And now you have this expectation of these negative things happening throughout the day that are then going to, you're going to self-perpetuate that. You're going to start to manifest that. And it's also very stressful.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. I totally agree. It's self-fulfilling.
Yes.
That you planted the seed and now this is what you think.
Exactly. And part of the human experience is to experience life. We don't want it. We shouldn't know everything before it happens. Right. Like I'm very psychic, but I don't actually want to know everything before it happens. I prefer to experience life.
You and I are sisters. I feel the same way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Let everyone know how they can find you and what you have going on.
Please go to my website at Lisa the X. That's LISAT as in time, HEX.com. Everything is there. I do have some really great events coming up. I've got a psychic immersion. I have one spot left for that. That's coming up March 13th through 15th. A spiritual tea on March 29th, 2 to 5, and an empath day in coming up in April the 25th. But please go to the website, lisathex.com.
Awesome. You heard it here, and we'll be right back after this. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Do you want to learn how you can stop sabotaging yourself? I'm here with Dr. Vern Morgan, and I think he's about to tell you just that.
There's great new technology which will allow you to change the old negative programming into very positive strategies. And we do that by using and delivering repetitively these strategies, bypassing the conscious mind and influencing the subconscious mind.
And to learn more, go to unitedintentions.org and click on Shop and make the authentic change today.
Hey, and welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels. And today we are talking about psychic divination. So we just had a wonderful guest on, and she shared some really interesting different tools that we can use for psychic divination. So today, we're about to get into one more of those tools, and I'm going to show you some things. But before we get into that, it's now time for Spirit Shout Out. Spirit Shout Out. So in this segment, we like to shout out a spirit that spirit or goddess, deity, whatever you want to call it. I call it Spirit Shout Out. That will be helpful for what we're talking about on the show today. So today's Spirit Shout Out goes to Saraswati, she is a Hindu goddess of knowledge, music, art, wisdom, and learning. So this goddess is wonderful to work with for, again, wisdom. And so when we're talking about divination, one of the tools that you can also use for divination is spirits. You can tap into spirits, deities, goddesses, gods, whatever those spirits are, your ancestors. You can tap into spirits and receive information from them as well, because they are all knowing. So this particular goddess, Saraswati, a Hindu goddess of knowledge, music, art, and wisdom and learning, you can bring her in through your crown chakra and to your third eye to help you receive messages more clearly and accurately. So I suggest everyone do that, work with Saraswati. And she's a very, very powerful, positive, just divine energy source to work with. So Spirit Shout Out goes to Saraswati. All right. So now I want to get into the next segment, I want to teach you guys a little bit about how to read crystal balls. So crystal balls are something that we've all seen in the media, or or during Halloween, or you see, psychics on depicted with these crystal balls around them, and there's all this secrecy shrouded around it, like there's these magical crystal balls, and that's not what it is. But what it is it's a crystal that is carved into a cylinder shape, a ball. And so the ball is, the reason why it's round is because that is a very efficient shape for the divination and for creating what you need to create in order to see inside the crystal ball. So remember, the magic is in you, not the tool. So the crystal ball is not by itself magical. It is not by itself psychic. It is not by itself all-knowing. However, crystals are very, very important tools to use in divination. And the reason why is because crystals conduct energy very well. They also store energy very well. And specifically within crystal balls can actually also act as a portal to other dimensions. And so this is very, very interesting. So when you use a crystal ball, not only can you find past, present, future type information, but you can also peer into other dimensions as well. And so, the portals that can be contained within the crystal ball is also not only is it about other dimensions, but you can also use the portal to peer into yourself. Yes, yourself, to really learn more about yourself, because there's a whole lot going on in there that consciously you're probably not aware of. And you can use that crystal ball to really, really peer inside of yourself, especially if you're trying to figure some things out and you're doing a lot of self-discovery. A crystal ball is a great tool to do that. So it looks like we have a question. Caller, you're on. Hello?
Hi, I would play the Mystic Challenge.
Hi, what is your name?
My name's Christina.
Hi, Christina. Thank you for calling in. So you pick a number from 1 to 3, and that'll dictate which question you're asked.
2.
2? Okay. So your question is, what is divination? So if you've been paying attention to today's show, then this should be easy for you. What is divination? This is multiple choice. So A, accessing psychic information. B, divine happiness. Or C, sending someone divine love.
A.
A. All right. Woohoo. Yay. I need a horn or something, but congratulations. Yay. So you've been paying attention. Good. So you win a free session with me. It's only 15 minutes. And, but within that 15 minutes, so much is going to happen. It's going to be great. So, within that 15 minutes, we are going to open up your third eye. We're going to, do an activation attunement on you to allow you to really, really divine, much more strongly and just much more powerfully.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yay. Me too. So hold on the line and we'll get your information and get you set up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now back to the crystal balls. Now, like I said, you can peer into yourself or peer into other dimensions. And so what you're doing is you're accessing universal knowledge, because universal knowledge is always, and a crystal is always connected. Everything in the world is connected to each other in the universal web of connection that we have. And that's what universal oneness is. That's what universal energy is. And so that crystal ball, again, in and of itself is not where the magic lies, but you being able to peer into it and being able to understand what you're receiving, that's where the magic lies. And being able to get that information. So here are the steps to reading a crystal ball. So first, you want to cleanse and protect the crystal ball. You want to cleanse the ball. You want to cleanse your space, and you also want to add some protection. And the reason why you want to cleanse it is because obviously we don't want any negative energy or just any energy of confusion to interfere with your reading, to interfere with your experience in being able to tune into that crystal ball. So a cleansing of the ball before each time you do it is good, and also a cleansing of your space is important. And so there's so many different ways to cleanse a space, but because also there's it can be a portal to other worlds, to other dimensions, and into people as well. What you want to do is you don't want anything negative. So that's why you want to also add some protection around there. And the thing is, as a medium, I can tell you there are spirits everywhere. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. So, so you want to also just make sure that your space is clear, that there's nothing able to really interfere with what you're about to do. So it's kind of a little bit of preparation, not much. So to cleanse, I suggest you use, and again, there's so many different ways of doing it, but this is something that everyone can do. I suggest you use sage to cleanse the energy. And then dealing with spirit. So here's a tidbit of information that a lot of people don't know. Sage is actually not strong enough to combat negative spirits. Sage is only strong enough to combat negative energy. And spirits are energy, but they're an energy with a consciousness. So there's a difference. So when you have a very negative and strong negative spirit, sage is not strong enough to combat that. And this is where you bring in frankincense. Frankincense is strong enough to combat negative spirits, but it's important that you don't get the one that has frankincense and myrrh together, because myrrh actually attracts negative spirits. So you want to just use frankincense by itself, whether it's an incense stick, whether it's resin. You want to sage the space, sage the ball, and also do frankincense in the room and in your area to make sure that all of that negativity is dispelled. So you're really hitting it in both angles. So once you do that, you want the room lit kind of dimly. You want the room to be either dark or dimly lit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to light a candle next to the ball. And so what that candle does is, because the candle has movement, and also, as I've said before many times on this show, fire magnifies the power of intention. So when you put a candle next to it, you're making the entire experience more powerful, but also the connection more powerful. But in addition, as far as looking into, gazing into the ball, the candle flame, because it flickers, allows that there to be multiple shapes and things like that can constantly move, that allow you to see more. So if you put a candle right next to it or behind it, you can kind of play around with it and see where it feels right, but you put a candle there. And then you're going to set your intention. You're going to hold the ball with your hands, or put your both hands on the ball, and set your intention of what you're looking to do, or what the question is, what you're looking to achieve. Because again, the question could be about something about yourself. It could be about just a universal information that you would like to receive, or situational type of things. But whatever that is, you're going to set your intention. And then after you do that, you're just going to peer into the ball. So you're going to find one point inside that ball to focus on, and your eyes are not going to leave that point. And what's going to happen is your eyes, as you focus more on that one spot, your eyes are actually going to start to lose focus. And that's where the magic happens. With all the movement from the candle, and you start to see a lot of shapes start to form within the ball. And those shapes have symbolism. Those shapes will give you information. And as you see them, there are certain thoughts that'll come into your mind. And those thoughts will be, part of your answer. And sometimes you have to piece things together like a puzzle, depending on if you're a novice or adept at this. But either way, you can get some very, very powerful things with a crystal ball, and very, very powerful information. And so you're just going to kind of trust what you get, though. You have to, like we were saying earlier, Lisa and I were saying, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust what you get. And your first intuition, your first thing that you get when you see a shape, when you see anything, that is always going to be the right answer. That's always going to be the truth of what you really did receive. And so that is basically how you can read a crystal ball. So I want to talk really quick about interpreting messages, though. When you see shapes, you may see animals, you may see plants, you may see places, you may have an entire vision that plays before you when you're peering into the crystal ball. And if that happens, there's, say you see an animal, say you see a bird. Now, just like with dream interpretation, it's not a textbook. When you see this is what this means. That's not how it works. It's what it means to you. So what does a bird mean to you? What does that bird mean to you? What was the bird doing? Was it flying? Was it sitting perched? What color was the bird? All of these things lend to the meaning of what that message was. And as you start to tune into those and start to really focus on the details of what you're receiving, then those things will start to make sense to you. And so I always suggest that after you're done doing a crystal ball reading, that you write down the things that you got. Because especially if you're trying to find an answer to something really important, if you peer, it may take several times peering into the ball before you get the complete answer. Because again, sometimes information is, you have to kind of piece it together like a puzzle. So those are my suggestions for crystal ball reading. Please try it at home. It is wonderful, and you will be surprised at how accurate of information you can get with it. And it's just amazing. So now I want to also say, if you're interested in magnifying your intuition and psychic ability, go to monicabay.com and book a free consultation, and we can get you started. So also follow me on all social media at The Real Monica Bay. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Monica Bay. Just look up Monica Bay, and there's my YouTube channel. Subscribe. Boop. And that's all I have for you today. I'm Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels. You've been watching Mystic Mondays, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels on United Intentions Media Network. Want to see more of me? Be sure to follow me on all social media at The Real Monica Bay. Join me next time on Mystic Mondays as we continue to elevate and illuminate all things mystic. Until next time. Stay updated on all UI Media shows at www.uimediaapp.com.
The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.